Close your eyes. Imagine you're in a forest. Endless pine trees stretching in all directions, their trunks so close together they block out the sky. It's always twilight here, always cold, and you're running. You don't know why you're running, but you know with the certainty that only exists in dreams that if you stop, you'll die. Behind you, something is following. You never see it clearly, just movement in your peripheral vision, the sound of branches breaking, breathing that's too deep, too wet, too wrong. And every night, it gets a little closer. Now, open your eyes. Does that forest sound familiar? Have you been there? Not in real life, in your dreams. If you have, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because in Clearwater Falls, Montana, 347 people had that exact same dream, every single night. The same forest, the same terror, the same thing hunting them. And when it finally caught up to them, the dream didn't end. It came true. I'm Dr. Jennifer Ward, sleep researcher at Seattle General Hospital. My specialty is parasomnia, unusual behaviors during sleep, sleepwalking, night terrors, sleep paralysis. I thought I'd seen everything. Then I got the call from Dr. Michael Chen, the only physician in Clearwater Falls. Dr. Ward, I need help with something I can't explain. His voice was tight with a fear I recognized, a medical professional encountering something that violated everything they knew. Every person in this town is having the same nightmare, not similar, identical, and it's been happening every night for 6 weeks. How many people? 347. Everyone in town. Men, women, children, different ages, different backgrounds, different everything, but the same dream. That's not possible. Dreams are generated by individual brain chemistry, memory consolidation, subconscious processing. I know what dreams are, Dr. Ward. I'm telling you this is happening anyway. He sent me his documentation, patient interviews, sleep study data, recordings from the handful of people who'd agreed to be monitored. The consistency was impossible, statistically impossible, neurologically impossible. But it was happening. I arrived in Clearwater Falls on a Tuesday in October, population 347, according to the welcome sign, nestled in a valley between mountains, surrounded by dense pine forest, the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, where the general store doubles as the post office, where the diner serves as the social hub. It should have been picturesque. Instead, it felt like a town waiting to die. Dr. Chen met me at his clinic, a small building next to the fire station. He was mid-40s, exhausted, with the kind of shadows under his eyes that said he wasn't sleeping much himself. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I was starting to think I was losing my mind. Tell me everything." He led me to his office where a wall was covered in notes, timelines, diagrams. It started 6 weeks ago, August 15th. Every person in town woke up that morning reporting the same dream, running through a forest, being chased by something they couldn't see clearly. Could it be mass hysteria? Suggestion? Maybe one person had the dream and talked about it, and that's what I thought at first. But Dr. Ward, they describe it identically, down to specific trees, the exact number of steps before they reach a fallen log, the exact pattern of birdsong, 3 calls, always from the left, the temperature, cold enough to see your breath, the feeling of pine needles under bare feet. They're barefoot in the dream? Yes, everyone. And here's where it gets worse. He pulled out a folder of photographs. 3 people have died, in their sleep, no apparent cause, but look at their feet. The photos showed deceased individuals in their beds, appearing peaceful as if simply asleep, except for their feet, which were filthy, covered in mud, pine needles, small cuts and scratches. My hands started shaking. This is real. The dream is somehow real, or becoming real. I don't know how else to explain it. When did the death start? 2 weeks ago. Margaret Holloway, 67, found dead in her bed by her husband. No signs of distress, no medical explanation, but her feet looked like she'd been walking through the forest all night. He pulled out more photos. Then Jason Winters, 34, 5 days ago. Then Lisa Tron, 28, 3 days ago. Same cause of death, nothing. Same evidence, dirty feet. What do the autopsies show? The county coroner couldn't find anything. Hearts stopped. That's it. Like they just gave up. I looked at the photos again, at the mud cacked on those dead feet, and felt something cold settle in my stomach. You said the dream is identical for everyone. Are people tracking it, comparing notes? There's a community meeting every morning at the diner. Everyone shares how far they got in the dream. Dr. Ward, they're mapping it. The forest, the path, the landmarks. Show me.
The diner was packed when we arrived that evening. Every booth filled, people standing along the walls. The atmosphere was tense, fear mixed with exhausted determination. At the front, a woman in her 50s was updating a massive hand-drawn map pinned to the wall. It showed a path through a forest, marked with detailed landmarks. "Last night, I made it to the 3 birch trees," a man called out. "The ones growing in a triangle pattern." The woman marked it on the map. "Anyone get past that?" "I did," a teenage girl said quietly. "There's a stream about 50 yards beyond, maybe 2 feet wide. I could hear it before I woke up." More marks on the map, more details added. "And the thing following?" someone asked. Silence. Heavy, terrified silence. Finally, an elderly man spoke. "Closer. It's definitely closer. I could hear it breathing, really hear it, not just sense it. Deep breaths, like something big." "I felt cold air," another woman added, "like it was right behind me, right there. Then I woke up." Dr. Chen leaned close to whisper to me, "Watch this. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Ward, a sleep specialist from Seattle. She's here to help us figure this out." The room erupted in questions. "Can you stop the dreams? Why is this happening? What kills the people who die?" I held up my hands. "I need to understand what's happening first. Can someone describe the dream from the beginning? Every detail?" A woman in her 30s stood, Emma Caldwell, the town librarian. "It starts the same way every time. You're standing at the edge of a forest. You don't know how you got there. It's twilight. You can see, but barely. The trees are pines, packed close together, and you hear it immediately." "Hear what?" "Something behind you. Not footsteps, it's too smooth for that. More like something dragging and breathing. This wet, rattling sound." Others nodded, murmuring agreement. "You start running," Emma continued, "not because you decide to, but because your body knows you have to. The path is clear, pine needles soft under your bare feet. You run past the crooked tree, that's about 100 yards in, then the cluster of boulders, then the fallen log you have to jump over. How do you know these landmarks are the same for everyone?" "Because we describe them to each other every morning," Dr. Chen said. "The crooked tree has a branch that looks like a pointing finger. The boulders are smooth river stones, gray with white veins. The fallen log is a Douglas fir, about 3 feet in diameter, covered in moss on the north side." "That's impossible," I whispered. "You can't all be dreaming the exact same environment." "We know, but we are. Some of us have been together in the dream. We've seen each other running. My neighbor John and I passed each other 2 nights ago. We both remember it." This was beyond anything in the literature. Shared dreaming was theoretical, unproven, but even if it were possible, the physical evidence, the mud, the scratches, that suggested something far worse. The dream wasn't just shared, it was real, or becoming real. "What happens when people die?" I asked. The room went quiet. Someone finally said, "They stop in the dream. They stop running and we hear them scream, just once, then they're gone. And in the morning, they're dead in their beds." "Does anyone know how far the dream goes? Is there an end to the forest?" "We don't know. Dr. Chen said. "We've charted about 2 miles of path so far, and it keeps going. But here's the thing. Every night, everyone picks up where they left off. If you made it to the 3 birch trees last night, you start there tonight. We're all progressing through this forest, night by night. And the thing hunting you gets closer every single night," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The first week, we could barely hear it, just a sense of something behind us. Now we can hear it breathing, feel the cold. Some people claim they felt something brush against them. It's catching up." "What do you think happens when it catches you?" No one answered, but I could see it in their eyes. They knew. When it caught them in the dream, they'd die, just like Margaret, Jason, and Lisa, and eventually it would catch everyone.
I spent the rest of the day interviewing residents and reviewing Dr. Chan's data. Every account was identical, not similar, identical, down to the smell of the pine forest, the specific pattern of moonlight through branches, the feeling of cold air on skin. This wasn't suggestion or mass hysteria. This was something else entirely. That night, Dr. Chen set me up with a sleep monitoring system in the clinic, EEG to track brain activity, heart rate monitor, video camera to record any movement. "You might not have the dream," he warned. "Some visitors don't. My cousin came to visit 3 weeks ago, stayed 2 nights, slept fine. But anyone who lives here, anyone who's been here more than a few days, they all dream." "How long have you been having it?" "Since the first night. I thought I was just stressed, maybe heard someone talking about it and internalized it. But Dr. Ward, by the second night, I knew. This wasn't my brain making things up. This was something else entirely. Something I was accessing or being pulled into." "Do you remember your dreams before this started?" "Barely. Normal dream stuff, fragments, weirdness, nothing coherent. But this? I remember every second. It's more vivid than real life. The colors are brighter, the sounds are clearer. The fear is..." He trailed off. "I've been chased by a bear in real life. Drunk driver nearly hit me once. This is worse, because whatever's behind us in that forest, it's not natural. It's not even trying to hide what it is." "What do you mean?" "In real life, predators disguise themselves. They hide their intentions. But this thing wants us to know it's hunting us, wants us to feel the terror. That's part of it somehow. The fear is feeding it, maybe, making it stronger." I tried to sleep that night in the clinic, electrodes attached to my head, monitors beeping softly. I expected to lie awake, mind racing with impossible questions. Instead, sleep took me like falling through a trapdoor. And I was in the forest. The transition was instant. No fade, no dream logic confusion. One moment I was lying in bed, the next I was standing barefoot on soft pine needles, surrounded by trees that stretched into a twilight sky. It was exactly as they described. Exactly. The temperature, the smell, the quality of light. This wasn't a dream. Dreams don't have this kind of consistency, this level of sensory detail. And I wasn't alone. I could see them in the distance, other people, all running along the same path. Some were far ahead, already past landmarks I couldn't see yet. Others were near me, breathing hard, faces blank with terror. Emma Caldwell ran past, her face pale. She glanced at me, recognition flashing in her eyes. "Run," she gasped. "It's right behind us." And I heard it, the breathing, deep, wet, rattling, like lungs filled with fluid or something that wasn't quite using lungs the way they were meant to be used. And underneath that, a sound like dragging, something heavy being pulled along the ground. My body moved without conscious thought. I ran. The crooked tree flashed past on my left. Yes, the branch looked like a pointing finger. The boulders, gray with white veins, smooth as if polished by water. The fallen log, I jumped it, landing hard on the other side, feeling pine needles stick to my bare feet. Behind me, the breathing got louder. I risked a glance back. There was something there, in the shadows between trees, not quite visible, but present, a shape that was too tall, too dark, too wrong. I couldn't make out details. It was like my eyes refused to focus on it, slipping away every time I tried to look directly at it. But I could feel it looking at me, studying me, hungry. I ran harder, lungs burning, feet bleeding from small cuts. Other dreamers blurred past. We were all on the same path, all running from the same thing, all trapped in this impossible shared nightmare. I reached the 3 birch trees growing in a triangle pattern. Past them, I could hear water running, the stream. 50 yards, the girl had said. I pushed forward, muscles screaming. The cold hit me then, not the ambient cold of the forest, but a localized chill, as if something freezing had moved directly behind me. I felt breath on my neck. Impossible, nothing was that close. And I woke up. Gasping, shaking, covered in sweat despite the cool clinic air. The monitors had gone crazy. My heart rate had peaked at 178. My EEG showed activity consistent with REM sleep, but also something else. Unusual patterns in the theta waves, synchronized in a way I'd never seen before. But it was my feet that made me scream. They were covered in dirt. Real dirt, pine needles stuck to the soles, small cuts on my heels, bleeding slightly. I'd been there, really there, not just in a dream. I'd been in that forest.
The morning meeting at the diner was more crowded than before. Word had spread that the visiting doctor had experienced the dream. They wanted to know if I understood now, if I believed. I stood in front of the room, my bandaged feet throbbing. I believe you. Whatever this is, it's not a normal dream. It's real, or it exists in a space where the boundary between dream and reality has broken down. Can you stop it? Someone called out. I don't know, but I can tell you what I observed. I pointed to the map. The dream has a geography, a fixed landscape that we're all traversing. That suggests it's not being generated by individual brains. It's something we're all accessing, a shared space. Like a server, a young man said. He was maybe 20, wearing a tech company t-shirt. We're all logging into the same dream server. That's actually not a bad analogy. Something is generating this environment, and we're all connecting to it during REM sleep. But why? Emma asked. Why is this happening to us? I don't know, but I think the thing hunting you, it's not random. It has a purpose. It's hurting you, all of you, moving you through the forest towards something. Toward what? I think we need to find out. How far have people gotten? What's the furthest point anyone has reached? Dr. Chen consulted his notes. Tom Henderson made it the farthest, about 2.5 miles, we think. He described passing the stream, then a clearing with a rock formation, then another dense stretch of forest. He said he could see something ahead, a structure maybe, but he woke up before he got close. Where's Tom now? The room went quiet. He died last night, Emma said softly. In his sleep. He made it further than anyone, and whatever caught him, we heard him scream in the dream. Just once, then silence. 4 deaths now, and the pattern was clear. The people who got furthest in the dream were dying first, as if the thing hunting them was picking off the leaders, the ones who got too close to seeing what lay at the end of the path. We need to map the rest of the forest, I said. Tonight, I want everyone to pay attention to landmarks, distances, anything distinctive. If there's a structure at the end, we need to know what it is. Why? Dr. Chen asked. How does that help us? Because dreams have sources. They come from somewhere. Memories, fears, subconscious processing. If we can find the source of this dream, maybe we can shut it down. And if we can't? I looked at the map, at the path through the impossible forest, at the distance people have covered. At this rate, everyone would reach the end in another week, maybe 2. And when they did, when the thing hunting them finally caught up, then everyone in this town dies in their sleep, I said.
I spent the day researching everything I could about Clearwater Falls, the town's history, any unusual events, old legends. If this nightmare had a source, I needed to find it. The library was small but well organized. Emma helped me search through historical records, old newspapers, town archives. Has anything like this happened before? Any reports of shared dreams, mass hysteria, anything unusual? Nothing in the written records, Emma said, but there are stories, old ones, from before the town was founded. What kind of stories? She pulled out a book, a collection of local folklore self-published in 1965. The valley was considered cursed by several Native American tribes. They called it the place where the dreaming doesn't end, or something similar. The translation is unclear. They avoided it. Why? According to legend, there was a great hunter who became so obsessed with catching his prey that he followed it into the spirit world, what we might call the dream world. He hunted there for so long that he forgot how to wake up, forgot he was ever human. He became the hunter in the dream, eternal and relentless, catching souls instead of animals. I felt cold. Is there more? The legend says that every few generations, the hunter wakes up, gets hungry, and pulls a whole community into the dream to hunt them. The tribes avoided this valley because they believed the hunter was sleeping here, in the deep forest, waiting. That's just folklore. Is it? Emma looked at me with exhausted eyes. Dr. Ward, I'm a librarian. I believe in facts, in evidence, in rational explanations, but my feet have real mud on them from a dream forest. I've seen people die from being chased by something that doesn't exist. At what point do we accept that maybe the old stories knew something we've forgotten? Do the stories say how to stop the hunter? No, just that once the hunt begins, it doesn't end until the hunter is satisfied, until everyone is caught. That night, I set up monitoring equipment on a dozen volunteers. We were going to map the forest systematically, each person noting details, trying to reach the structure Tom Henderson had seen before he died. Dr. Chen gave everyone the same instructions. Don't try to be a hero. Don't push too far. The goal is information, not distance. When you feel the cold, when you hear the breathing get too close, let yourself wake up. Can we do that? Someone asked. Can we force ourselves awake? Sometimes, he said, fear helps. If you're terrified enough, your body's stress response can jolt you out of REM sleep. It's not reliable, but it's something. I took a different approach. I'd brought equipment. Portable EEG units, heart rate monitors, anything that might help us understand what was happening physiologically during these dreams. The data from the previous night had shown something unusual. The dreamer's brain waves were synchronizing, not perfectly, but enough to suggest they were somehow connected, their neural activity linking up across physical space. If I could disrupt that synchronization, maybe I could pull people out of the dream, save them. It was 11 p.m. when we all went to sleep, electrodes attached, monitors humming. The volunteers were in sleeping bags on the clinic floor, creating a makeshift sleep lab. I lay down with them, knowing what was coming, dreading it. Sleep took us like a riptide. The forests again, but this time I started further along the path, right at the 3 birch trees. The dream remembered where I'd left off. Around me, other dreamers materialized, all appearing at their individual progress points. Those who'd gotten further started ahead on the path. Those newer to the dream started further back. And behind all of us, the breathing. Louder now, closer. I could hear the dragging sound clearly. Something heavy, something wrong being pulled along the forest floor. "Run!" someone screamed. We ran. I pushed past the stream, jumping it easily. On the other side, the forest opened into a small clearing. This must be what Tom had described. In the center was a rock formation, a natural pillar of stone maybe 15 feet tall, and carved into the stone were symbols. Not language, not pictographs, something else. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at, that seemed to shift and writhe even though the stone was still. They reminded me of the drawings in the folklore book, the representations of the hunter from the spirit world. Past the clearing, the path continued into denser forest. I could see shapes ahead, other dreamers who'd gotten further, who were approaching something in the distance. A structure. Tom had been right. It looked like a lodge or cabin built from the same dark wood as the trees around it, but wrong. The angles didn't quite match. The windows were placed irregularly, and from inside I could see a faint glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Don't go near it!" Emma's voice somewhere behind me. "Dr. Ward, stop!" But I was too close. I had to see, had to understand. The cold hit me like a wall, not behind me, all around me. The temperature dropped so fast, I could see frost forming on the pine needles, crystallizing in patterns that looked almost deliberate. And then I heard it, not just breathing, words. Deep, resonant, spoken in a language I didn't recognize, but somehow understood anyway. The meaning bypassed my ears and went straight into my mind. So many running, so many caught, so few reached the ending. Come, see, know. I turned around. The hunter was there. I still couldn't see it clearly. My eyes slid off it, refusing to focus. But I could see enough. It was tall, impossibly tall, hunched over to move between the trees. Its body was wrong, too many joints, limbs that bent in directions that violated anatomy. And its head? It had antlers, or what had been antlers once. Now they were branching things, dripping with something dark, adorned with objects that looked like... No, not objects. Faces. Faces of people who'd been caught. Tom Henderson's face was there, frozen in an expression of final terror, hanging from an antler branch like a trophy. The hunter tilted its head, studying me, and I understood. This was the purpose of the hunt, not to kill, to collect, to take the essence of those caught, wear them like trophies, feed on the fear and the final moments of understanding. And we were all going to end up there hanging from those antler branches, our last terrified expressions preserved forever. Run more, fear more, makes the taking sweeter. Run to the ending, see what waits. Then I collect, all of you, soon. The cold intensified, and I felt something touch my shoulder, a hand that was too large, too cold, fingers that ended in points rather than nails. I screamed and forced myself awake with a burst of pure terror. I woke up sobbing, shaking, my shoulder burning where the hunter had touched me. Dr. Chen was there immediately. "What happened? Your vitals went through the roof." I pulled down my collar. There was a mark on my shoulder, not a bruise, not a burn, something else. The skin was darker there, discolored, and when I touched it, it was cold, unnaturally cold. And in the center of the mark, barely visible, was a symbol, one of the geometric patterns from the stone pillar. "It marked me," I whispered. "The hunter, it touched me and marked me, and feels exactly where we are, in the dream and in the waking world. It's not just hunting us in the dream anymore." "What's in the structure? What's at the end of the path?" Dr. Chen asked. "The ending," I remembered, the hunter's words. "When we reach it, when everyone reaches it, that's when the hunt concludes. That's when it collects us all." "How long do we have?" I thought about the pace of the dream, how far people were getting each night, how close the structure was. 2 nights, maybe 3. Then everyone reaches the end, and the hunter takes all of you. The emergency town meeting was held at 2 a.m. in the high school gymnasium, the only space big enough for everyone. 343 people now, 4 dead, everyone terrified, everyone marked, everyone running out of time. I stood in front of them with Dr. Chen, trying to explain what I'd learned, what I'd seen. "The dream isn't random," I said. "It's a hunting ground, a trap, something ancient,
the legends call it the hunter from the spirit world, is using the dream to herd all of you toward a conclusion. When you reach the structure at the end of the path, it will take you, all of you, your souls, your essence, whatever makes you, you. You'll die in your sleep, and what you are will be trapped with the hunter forever. Can't we just stay awake? Someone called out. Have you tried? Dr. Chen asked. Really tried? Silence. Because they had tried. Everyone had. But the pull of sleep was irresistible after a few hours. It was like a riptide, dragging you under no matter how hard you fought. The dream is connected to this place, I continued. The valley, the forest. The legends say the hunter sleeps here in the deep woods. Maybe there's something physical, a focus point, an anchor tying the dream to reality. You think we can find it? Emma asked. Find the hunter in the real world? I think we have to try, because if we don't, in 2 nights, everyone in this town will be dead. Where do we even start? A man asked. The forest around here is thousands of acres. The structure in the dream, I said. It looked like a lodge or cabin. Old, wrong angles. If it exists in the dream, there might be something corresponding to it in the real world. An old building, a ruin, something in the forest that matches. I might know something, an elderly woman said. She was maybe 80, small and frail, supported by a cane. My grandfather told stories. There was a hunting lodge built here in the 1800s, before the town was founded, built by a rich man from back east who wanted to hunt the elk and bear. But something happened. The hunters who stayed there, they disappeared. All of them. Some people said they went crazy, wandered into the woods and got lost. Others said, she paused, others said they went into the forest and never stopped hunting, that they became part of it. Where is this lodge? Deep forest, north side of the valley. There's no trail anymore, hasn't been for over 100 years, but my grandfather marked it on an old survey map. I might still have it. By dawn, we had a plan. A dozen volunteers would hike into the deep forest, find the lodge, and search for anything that might be the anchor, the thing tying the dream to this place. I was going with them. My mark might make me a target, but it also meant I was connected to the dream. If there was an anchor, maybe I could sense it. Dr. Chen wanted to come too, but I convinced him to stay with the remaining townspeople. If we fail, someone needs to be here. Someone needs to try to keep them alive. How? He asked, almost talking to himself. I don't know. Maybe get them out of the valley. Maybe the dream can't reach them if they leave. People have tried, he said quietly. In the first week, anyone who drives out of the valley, they still have the dream. It follows them. This isn't about geography. It's about being marked, being chosen. Then we don't fail, I said. The hike started at 7 a.m. The forest in daylight was beautiful. Golden sunlight through pine boughs, birds singing, crisp autumn air. Nothing like the twilight nightmare forest of the dream. But as we went deeper, following the old survey map, something changed. The trees grew denser, the light dimmed, the temperature dropped, and the forest started to feel familiar. Does anyone else feel like they've been here? One of the volunteers asked. We all did, because we had been. This was the forest from the dream, or the forest from the dream was this place, mapped somehow into the collective unconscious, turned into a hunting ground. After 3 hours of hiking, we found it. The lodge. It was a ruin, mostly collapsed, overtaken by moss and vines, but the structure was there. The same wrong angles from the dream, the same irregular placement of windows, the same dark wood that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. And carved into every surface were the symbols, hundreds of them, the same geometric patterns that hurt to look at, that seemed to writhe and shift even in still wood. This is it, I breathed. This is the anchor. We approached carefully.
The air around the lodge was wrong, too cold, too still. No birds, no insects, no sound except our breathing and footsteps. Inside, the lodge was a single large room, the roof partially caved in. In the center was a stone pillar, the same one from the dream, covered in symbols, and arranged around it were bones. Human bones. Dozens of skeletons, maybe hundreds, arranged in a spiral pattern radiating out from the pillar. Some were old, ancient, barely more than dust. Others were newer. I could see rotted fabric, rusted belt buckles, a wristwatch. "The hunters," Emma whispered. "The ones who disappeared. They're still here." I approached the pillar carefully. Up close, the symbols were worse. They pulsed with a faint light, synchronized like a heartbeat. And when I reached out to touch the stone, it was warm, alive. This was the anchor, the thing tying the dream to reality, powered by all the deaths it had caused, all the souls it had collected over the decades, maybe centuries. "How do we destroy it?" someone asked. I didn't know. The stone was solid, ancient, seemingly indestructible. We'd brought tools, sledgehammers, axes, even some explosives that the town's construction crew had donated. But something told me physical destruction wouldn't work. This was a spiritual thing, a dream thing. We need to sever the connection, break the link between the dream and this place. How? I thought about the marks on our shoulders, the symbols, the hunter's touch, and I understood. We're the connection. We've been marked. The hunter uses us as bridges, our dreams, our consciousness, linking the spirit world to the physical world. If we could all refuse to dream, refuse to cross over, we can't. Dr. Chen had explained that. The pull was irresistible. Then we have to face it, all of us, tonight. We reach the end together, and when the hunter tries to take us, we fight, not physically. You can't fight something like that with fists, but with will, with refusal. We deny it permission to take us. "That's insane," someone said. "Do you have a better plan?" No one did. We spent the day preparing. Everyone in town gathered at the gymnasium, 343 people, all marked, all connected to the hunter's dream. I stood in front of them with Dr. Chen and explained the plan. Tonight, we all dream together. We run the forest one last time, and we reach the structure at the end, the lodge where the hunter waits. When it tries to take us, we refuse. All of us, together, denying it permission to harvest our souls. "What if it doesn't work?" a child asked. "Then we die," I said honestly, "but we die fighting. And maybe that refusal, that collective act of will be enough to break the anchor, to shatter the connection, to trap the hunter back in the spirit world where it belongs." "You're asking us to sacrifice ourselves," a man said. "I'm asking us to have faith in human consciousness, in willpower. Dreams are powerful, but so are we. The hunter needs us to be afraid, needs us to submit. If we refuse, all of us, together, maybe that's enough." There was debate, argument, fear, but in the end, what choice did they have? At 10 p.m., the entire population of Clearwater Falls lay down to sleep. Parents held children, couples held each other, friends gripped hands, all of us connected, all of us facing the nightmare together. Dr. Chen squeezed my hand. "If this doesn't work—" "It has to work," I said. We closed our eyes, and the forest took us. All 343 of us appeared at once, scattered along the path according to how far we'd gotten before. But tonight was different. Tonight we weren't running. We walked together, slowly,
deliberately, moving toward the lodge at the end of the path. Behind us, the hunter raged. I could hear it thrashing through trees, furious that its prey wasn't running, wasn't afraid. The breathing was storm-loud now, and the cold was intense enough to see ice forming around the trees around us. But we kept walking. The lodge came into view, the same wrong angles, the same pulsing glow from inside. This time, we didn't hesitate. We walked through the door. Inside was wrong, bigger than the physical lodge should have been. The stone pillar stood in the center, but this version was covered with faces, not carved, but attached. Real faces pressed into the stone, mouths open in silent screams, the faces of everyone the hunter had ever caught. And at the far end of the impossible room, it waited, the hunter. I forced myself to look at it directly, to see it clearly despite my eyes' resistance. It was massive, 9, maybe 10 feet tall, but hunched, bent, as if it had forgotten how to stand upright after so many centuries of hunting. Its body was wrong, too thin, too elongated, covered in what might have been skin or might have been bark or might have been something in between. The limbs were too long, jointless, ending in hands with too many fingers. But the head, God, the head, it had been human once, maybe. The shape was there, buried under the antlers and the moss and the centuries of growth. But the eyes, there were too many eyes, scattered across the face and neck, all of them black, all of them watching us with ancient hunger. And hanging from the antlers were the faces: Tom Henderson, Margaret Holloway, Jason Winters, Lisa Tron, all the people who died in their sleep, their final expressions preserved, their essences trapped. The hunter spoke, and its voice was everywhere. "Come, marked ones, claimed ones, the hunt ends. I take, I keep, forever mine." "No," I said. The word came out stronger than I expected. Around me, others echoed it. No, no, no. 343 voices speaking as one. The hunter tilted its head, confused. This wasn't how the hunt ended. The prey was supposed to run until caught, supposed to surrender in terror, supposed to be taken. Marked, claimed, mine, always mine. "We refuse," Emma said, stepping forward. "We are not yours. We've never been yours. You marked us without permission. You hunted us without consent. We refuse." The hunter roared, not a sound, but a feeling, a wave of pure rage and hunger that made the dream itself shudder. The lodge walls cracked, the faces on the pillars screamed silently. But we stood firm. "Cannot refuse. Marked means claimed. Claimed means mine. Rules of the hunt." "Fuck your rules," a teenager said. "We didn't agree to this. You can't take what we don't give." And that was it. That was the key. The hunter couldn't force us. That's why it herded us, terrified us, marked us. It needed our fear, our submission, our acceptance of being prey. Without that, without our consent on some level, it had no power. The marks on our shoulders began to burn, not with pain, with heat, with light. The symbols writhed and twisted, and I realized they were breaking apart, dissolving. The hunter screamed. The sound was like tearing metal, like breaking glass, like 1,000 voices crying out in rage and hunger and denial. "Mine, always mine, forever mine." "No," we said together, "never yours." The dream shattered. I woke up in the gymnasium, surrounded by 343 people, all of us waking simultaneously, all of us gasping. The marks were gone. The symbols had vanished from our skin,
leaving only faint scars that would fade. "Did it work?" someone asked. Dr. Chen checked his watch, waited. We all held our breath. Seconds ticked by, then minutes. Normally, we'd only wake for a few hours before sleep dragged us back. But now, I don't feel it. The pull, the drowsiness, it's gone. Others murmured agreement. The irresistible need to sleep, to return to the dream, had vanished. "We broke the connection," I said. "We refused to be prey, and without our consent, the hunter couldn't take us. We shattered the anchor." A cheer went up, then sobbing, then laughter, the release of 6 weeks of terror. But I couldn't celebrate, not yet. "We need to check the lodge, the real one, make sure it worked." We hiked back to the ruin the next morning, the entire town armed with cameras and witnesses and desperate hope. The lodge was different. The symbols were gone. The wood was just wood, old, rotted, but not wrong anymore. And inside, the stone pillar had cracked down the center, split in two as if by a massive force. The bones were still there, scattered around the broken pillar, but the faces, the preserved expressions of terror, were gone. Released, maybe, or destroyed. I hoped released. "It's over," Dr. Chen said. I wanted to believe him, but something made me check my shoulder one more time where the mark had been. The skin was smooth, no scar, no symbol, but it still felt cold when I touched it.
6 months have passed since the shared dream ended. Clearwater Falls is recovering, slowly. The deaths of Margaret, Jason, Lisa, and Tom are recorded as unexplained medical events. The government investigated, found nothing conclusive, eventually moved on. Most people in town don't talk about it, don't want to remember. They've convinced themselves it was mass hysteria, shared delusion, something explainable. But I know better. Because I still dream of that forest sometimes. Not every night, not even every week, but occasionally I close my eyes and I'm there, standing at the edge of those pines, feeling the cold, hearing the breathing behind me. Except I'm alone now. No other dreamers, no shared experience. Just me. And the hunter. I never see it clearly in these dreams, but I feel it watching, studying, waiting. Last week, I woke up with dirt on my feet. Pine needles. Real ones. I drove to Clearwater Falls yesterday, needed to see if others were experiencing it too, if the hunter was coming back. The town seemed normal, people were living their lives. Dr. Chen said no one had reported unusual dreams. "Maybe it's just you," he said. "Maybe you were too connected, spent too much time in the dream." Maybe, but I don't think so, because when I visited the lodge ruins, they'd changed again. The pillar was whole, uncracked, and carved into it fresh and deep was a new symbol. Not one of the old geometric patterns. This one looked like a person, a running figure. It looked like me.
They say dreams can't hurt you, that what happens in your sleep stays in your sleep. That's a comforting lie, because I've seen dreams become real, seen nightmares step out of the collective unconscious and hunt actual people, seen marks appear on skin from dream touches, seen mud from dream forests appear on real feet. The boundary between dreaming and waking is thinner than you think, and some things live in that boundary. Ancient things, hungry things, things that hunt in the space between consciousness and unconsciousness, feeding on fear, collecting souls. Clearwater Falls was lucky. 343 people stood together and refused to be prey. They broke the connection, shattered the anchor, sent the hunter back to whatever dark space it came from. But I don't think it's gone. I think it's just waiting
choosing its next hunting ground, its next set of prey. So tonight, when you close your eyes and drift off to sleep, pay attention to your dreams. If you find yourself in a forest, pines stretching in all directions, twilight that never ends, cold air on bare feet, wake up. Don't run. Don't look back. Just wake up. Because if you hear the breathing behind you, if you feel the cold, if you see others running alongside you in the same impossible forest, the hunt has begun, and the hunter always collects its prey. Unless you refuse. If this story made you afraid to sleep tonight, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the space where nightmares become reality. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever had a dream that felt too real? One where you woke up with evidence it actually happened. Check out the playlist in the description for more stories about the thin boundary between dream and reality. And tonight, when you close your eyes, pay attention to where you end up, because some forests are not metaphors. Some hunts are real. Until next time, sleep carefully. And if you hear breathing behind you in the darkness, wake up.